Chapter 13. The High Cost of Getting Even. The High Cost of Getting Even. One night, year ago, as I was traveling through Yellowstone Park, I sat with other tourists on a bachelor facing a dense growth of pine and spruce. Presently the animal which we had been waiting to see. The terror of the forest, the grizzly bear strode out into a glare of the light and began devouring the garbage that had been dumped there for the kitchen of the one of the park hotel. A forest ranger, Major Martindale, sat on the horse and talked to the excited tourist about bear. He told us that the grizzly bear can wipe any other animal the Western world, in the possible exception of the buffalo and the Kodiak bear. Yet I noticed that night that there was one animal and only one, that is Grizzle permitted to come out of the forest and eat with him under the glare of light. A sukun, suknuk, the grizzly knew that he could liquidate a skunk with one swipe of his mighty paw. Why didn't he do it? Because he had found from experience that it didn't pay. I found that oh, I found that out too. I found out that too. As a farm boy, I trapped four-legged scones along the hedgerow in Missouri, and as a man, I encountered a few two-legged scones on the sidewalk of New York. I have found from a sad experience that it does not pay to strip off either variety. When we hate our enemies, we are giving them a power over us, power over our sleep, our appetite, our blood pressure, our health, and our happiness. Our enemies would dance with joy if only they knew how they were owing us, lecturing us, and getting even with us. Our hate is not hurting them, but our hate is turning our own days and night into a hellish turmoil. Who do you suppose said this? If selfish people try to take advantage of you, cross them off your list, but don't try to get even. When you try to get even, you hurt yourself more than you hurt the other fellow. Those words sound as if they might have been uttered by some starry-eyed idealist, but they weren't. Those words appeared in a bulletin issued by the police department of the Milcuni. How will trying to get even hurt you? In many ways, according to the Life magazine, it may even wreck your health. The chief personality characteristics of person with hypertension, high blood pressure is resentment, said Life. When resentment is chronic hypertension and heart trouble follow. So you see that when Jesus said, "Love your enemies," he was not only preaching sound ethics, he was also preaching 20th century medicine when he said, "Forgive 70 times 7. Forgive 70 times 7." Jesus was telling you and move how you and me how to keep from having high blood pressure, heart trouble, stomach ulcer, and many other ailments. A friend of mine recently had a serious heart attack. He is our physician. A friend of mine recently had a serious heart attack. Her physician put her to bed and ordered her to refuse to get angry about anything, no matter what happened. Physician know that it will have a weak heart. A fit of anger can kill you. Did I say can kill you? A fit of anger did kill a restaurant owner in a Spokane, Washington. A few years ago, have I have in front of me now a letter from Jerry Stewart, the chief of the police department, Spokane, Washington, saying, a few years ago, William Blankever, a man 68 who owned a cafe here is a Spokane, killed himself by flying into a rage because his cook insisted to drinking coffee out of his saucer. The cafe owner was so indignant that he grabbed a revolver and started to chase the cook and fell dead from a heart failure with his hand still gripping the gun. The coroner's report declared that anger had caused the heart failure. When Jesus said, "Love your enemies," he was also telling us how to improve our looks. I know women, and so do you, whose face have been wrinkled and hardened by hate and disfigured by resentment. All the beauty treatment in Christendom won't improve their look half so much as would a heart full of forgiveness, tenderness, and love. Hatred destroys our ability to enjoy even our food. The Bible put it this way: better is the dinner of love, where love is, than a stale ox and the hatred therewith. What the hell? Hatred destroys our ability to enjoy even our food. The Bible put it the way: better it is dinner of love, where love is, than the stalled ox and hatred therewith. Would not our enemies rub their hand with glee if they knew that our hate from them was exhausting us, making us tired and nervous, ruining our look, giving us heart trouble, and probably shortening our life? Even if we can't love our enemies, let's love ourselves. Let's love ourselves so much that we won't permit our enemies to control over happiness, our health, and our look. As a Shakespeare put it, heat not a furnace for your foe so hot that it do single yourself, that it do single yourself. Signal? Single. I didn't understand what he is trying to say. Heat not a furnace for your who is so hot that it do a singe yourself. When Jesus said that we should forgive our enemies 70 times 7, he was also preaching sound business. For example, I have before me, as I write a letter I received from the George Rona, Fagdiata at 24, Uppsala, Sweden for a year. George Rona was an attorney in Vienna, but during the Second World War he fled to Sweden. He had no money, need work badly, since he could speak and write several languages. He hoped to get a position as a correspondent for some firm engaged in importing or exporting. Most of the firm replied that they had no need of such services because of the war, but they would keep his name on a file, and so on. One man, however, wrote George Rana a letter saying, "What you imagine about my business is not true. You are both wrong and foolish. I do not need any correspondent. Even if I did need one, I would not hire you because you can't even write a good Swedish. Your letter is full of mistakes." Your letter is full of mistakes. When George Rana read that letter, he was as mad as Donald Duck. That what did this Swede means by telling him he could not write the language? Why? The letter that is Swede himself had written was full of mistakes. So George Rana wrote a letter that was calculated to burn his man up. There he paused. He said to himself, "Wait a minute. Now, how do I know this man is not right? I have studied Swedish, but it's not my native language, so maybe I do make mistakes I don't know anything about. If I do, then I certainly have to study harder. If I ever hope to get a job, this man has possibly done me a favor, even though he did not mean to. The mere fact that he expressed himself in a disagreeable term does not alter my debt to him. Therefore, I am going to write him a and thank him for what he has done." Okay.